4 Russian propaganda channels are banned in the EU. These are NTV Mir, Russia 1, REN-TV and Channel 1. The ninth package of sanctions against Russia, among other things, includes the restrictions on Russian broadcasting. Thus, the EU once again acknowledged that Russia purposefully supplies disinformation to the Union.
These outlets are under the permanent direct or indirect control of the leadership of the Russian Federation and have been used by latter for its continuous and concerted disinformation and war propaganda actions, which legitimize Russia's aggression and undermine support for Ukraine. From a press release of the European Commission.
According to experts in Europe itself, it has long been said that Russia is actively using propaganda in the foreign area. Therefore, measures have been taken to counter it for years.
European countries have begun to take action. Germany and Sweden were the first to sound the alarm. Since the mid of 2010s, especially after 2014, now European governments are determined to deal more effectively with this.
The main focus of the Kremlin's propaganda dissemination is on two narratives. The first is the denigration of the image of Ukrainian both in its domestic politics and through the spread of fakes about Ukrainian refugees.
In general, Russian propaganda is characterized by discrediting Ukraine in the international arena. We see that Russian propaganda is actively spreading through its channels in the European information space, discrediting Ukrainian refugees through fakes, all in order to undermine the trust of European partners in Ukraine.
The second propaganda narrative is that sanctions against Russia not only do not work, but, on the contrary, harm the Europeans themselves. Thus, the propaganda resource Russia Today distributed a video where a European family uses a hamster to generate electricity on Christmas and eats it in the next year, all allegedly due to the fact that the Europe cannot survive without Russian energy.
Messages about freezing or that the future of the EU will be cold and hungry are absolutely not new messages for Russian propaganda. Even in this summer there were messages about that sanctions have a worse effect on Europe and they have no effect on Russia.
Russian propaganda is promoted not only by the Kremlin media. Thus, the Ukrainian Center for Combating Disinformation published a list of 44 people who intentionally or unknowingly transmit Russian narratives. There are 44 people in it. Among them are journalists, economists, political scientists from countries around the world. The Kremlin does not forget about the internal audience too, the glorification of mercenaries of the Wagner private military company, commercials about mobilization, the demonization of the EU and the US in the eyes of ordinary Russians, the glorification of Putin. Everything so that they believe only wise and good leaders sit in the Kremlin, and everything that happens outside the borders of the Federation is pure evil. Reported by Serhiy Kulas, UATV News.